So this week we're going to be covering the 78th LeetCode problem, all possible subsets. Now this is a problem that I've failed numerous times, like for Google in sophomore year and Yelp in junior year. So I'd say I had a lot of struggle with this problem. Let's dive right in by reading the problem statement. Given a set of distinct integers, return all possible subsets, aka the power set. So the solution must not contain duplicate subsets. Here's an example. We're given the input to be 1, 2, and 3, and the output is going to be the power set of this array. So the power set is just all possible subsets of 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to be going with a different approach this time, and I'm not going to use my iPad to go over the algorithm. I think the best way to learn this algorithm is just going to be by printing out the recursive step information. So let's just take a look at the code. So we're going to start off with creating an empty solution array. And once we do that, we're going to pass that into our helper function. It's going to take in nums, which are all the numbers in the numbers array, the solution array, which is just going to contain all the values from nums that are in the current iteration of the recursive call, and the index, which is going to be how we're going to keep track of which part of nums we start our recursive call from. Every time we call a recursive call, we're going to have a different version of a solution. So we're just going to append the current array onto the solution array, iterate through the numbers, starting at the index, going all the way to the entire length of nums. So we're going to append it and call the recursive function and then pop from the current array. This is going to be meat of this code, and the best way to understand it is by printing out what is going on under the hood. So I've run the code and I'm printing out the current array and the current index. So when we start off, which is just calling this function right here, we're passing in an empty current array and a 0 index. Now that is going to be appended to the solution array. Afterwards, we are iterating in this for loop. And in the for loop, we're starting at index, which is equal to 0. So that's going to add the first item into our current array. And once that's added, we're going to call the helper again. And that's when this gets printed out. Here, we pass the index plus 1. So we have 1 in the current array, and then we have index, which starts off at 1. So we're going to append this new array, 1, which we can see in the resulting output. And afterwards, we're going to go through this for loop again, starting at 1 this time. And so when we add nums of 1, that's going to be the second value inside the original input. So now current array is going to look like 1, 2. And then we're going to come out here, because we're going to go through this recursive call, print it and add it to the solution array. And then we're going to be in 3. Once we are done with this, we will now return to the section where we added the 2 here. So we're going to pop 2 and add the new one, which is 3, which is why we're going to have 1, 3 right over here. We're going to have 1, 3. And that means that it's going to get appended to our list. So we have 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. And then, since 3 is since we won't run into this for loop because the index is going to be 2, and we're going to try to go from 2 to 2, so we just won't run this for loop. So it'll return again. Now we're going to add 2 to this list because we popped off both 3 and 1. 2 is now added to the solution array. Now we go through this for loop. And that is going to be how we get all of our subsets, is by going through these recursive calls and keeping track of the current array as well as the index that goes along with it. So in terms of time and space complexity, we're just going to get big O of 2 to the n. Cool, let's just submit this code and make sure it runs. Yeah, once I got 12 milliseconds, which is faster than 94% of all Python solutions. I think it's just because I added this print statement that is making it run a little bit slower.